Hey, what's going on, everyone? Justin here, and I've been seeing this 10 before the end video float around a bit on BookTube for the last little while here, and figured I might as well try to take a stab at it before it's too far into the month, and then it makes absolutely no sense to do. But I guess technically there's a greater than zero chance that these 10 will get read. I won't say, how much higher than zero, but let's just go ahead and take a stab at it. So first up is I have to finish this buddy read. I have a lot of thoughts on it. So it's The Romans by Edward Watts, a 2,000-year history covering the Roman Republic and the Empire and the late Empire and the majority, not quite the entirety, but the majority of the Byzantine Empire in one book is a tall order. Even though it's a big book, it's not like that big. I think it's like in the 600s of text, so it's not like, insurmountable here. I just feel like that's not possible. It's just not. This is a not possible kind of thing going on. I'm not gonna talk a lot about it here. I'm probably gonna have a dedicated video specifically for it, so I don't want to give a lot away. My biggest fault with it, I would say, would be it is just a straight up political. Everything's getting included, but it's just a political narrative, which is just not like my favorite thing in the world. I will say being able to include pretty much everything at roughly like the same weight as far as like the decades and centuries almost in a way kind of is a refreshing take though. So like, the Fall of the Republic isn't like a third of a book sometimes when it's like, one generation there. So I don't know, I find it really interesting in that way, but like I said, I got a lot of thoughts. I'll figure something out for it. So we got another history here. This is one I need to read because I said I'd review it, and I'm a terrible person because I haven't got to it yet. So we have W.W. Norton sent me Moody al-Rashid's Between Two Rivers, Ancient Mesopotamia and the Birth of History. And this looks like, like a history book dealing with the, ancient Sumer and Babylonia, the civilizations of Mesopotamia and whatnot. But what's interesting is a lot of books focus a lot on the kind of the archaeological stuff. We don't have a lot of written inscriptions, but I think what this book does is try to make the most of the written things that have come down to us. Just for example, I'll give you like a little blurb here. Dr. Moody al-Rashid reveals what these ancient people chose to record about their lives, allowing us to brush hands with them millennia later. We find lullabies to soothe the baby, instructions for exorcising a ghost, countless receipts for beer, and the messy writing of preschoolers. Yep, I will say, there are a lot of recipes and receipts for beer in ancient Mesopotamia. That is kind of interesting. So it will be kind of neat to take a look at it. I'm sure like archaeological stuff will be included as well, but kind of shifting the focus towards like the written inscription might be a little bit of an interesting take. So I've been reading a lot more fiction recently. I actually saw my stat when I looked it up at the beginning of November, I believe it was. I was like exactly 20%, which is like at least double. I think I'm lucky if I usually get to 10%. So I've been reading a lot more fiction lately. Some of that is me trying to read more classics and stuff like right here, but some of it is also just trying to read more for the library and having recommendations of things to talk to people about. So let's talk about a couple. So I got two NYRB New York Review classic books that I want to read. One is Tove Jansson's The Summer Book, partly because it sounds like something I'd really enjoy, but I did say that it was like being made into a movie or a TV show or something like that the other day, so I thought that'd be kind of interesting. And this follows Sophia and her grandmother. I think Sophia's 6 or 7, and they spend the summer on this island in I think the Baltic Sea or off the coast of Sweden or Finland or something like that. And it's just kind of their like explorations on like different things. Like kind of, I think each chapter is kind of a little vignette of like an episode of something they do, and I assume it teaches them, both of them, kind of about life a little bit. One's just kind of getting started, and one's definitely like kind of, approaching the sunset and everything. So it sounds really interesting. So wanted to give it kind of a shot. And then obviously like the whole kind of like northern nature theme kind of adds as well. This is one I started in the summertime and like forgot about apparently. And it's Jean Giono's The Open Road. It's translated from the French. And this is basically a traveler. We have a traveler, I think it's right after World War II, and he's going through the Alps kind of region of France, kind of doing odd jobs and just making his money stretch and just having a grand old time with life. He kind of meets up, he kind of crosses paths with a hustler of sorts, and they have kind of different like living styles and stuff, and it's kind of like their interactions and stuff. But like I said, I read about a third of the book probably, and I just really enjoy like I said, the Wanderers kind of just takes on, he doesn't have a lot of money, but he buys some good tobacco and like a glass of wine and a baguette, and he's like literally just like taking a picnic with that and just chatting about how great like life is and stuff at that moment and everything. But then he also, like I said, he's not afraid to actually like work and stuff either, because like a lot of times like this trope, I feel like it's they do as little as possible, but he does, like I said, he goes to work like during the winter time when there's not it's not as easy to kind of get around and stuff. So I've been really enjoying it. I need to like get on and actually finish the book. I'm probably able to start over at this point. And this one is one I was supposed to get to like 2 or 3 months ago and just didn't. And it's Émile Zola's The Belly of Paris, which is his 3rd book in the Rougon-Macquart cycle, which is 20 books dealing with a couple of different, well, I say a whole lot of different people in this kind of expanded family over just all classes and castes of society during the Second French Empire, the 1850s through the 1870s. And this one is one who resisted Napoleon's coup d'etat, and he kind of got thrown in prison, but he escapes. And it's kind of using like the food marketplaces, which are expanding and stuff, and like kind of taking like the culinary like lens of like kind of the bourgeoisie and the empire and stuff, and how some people are going hungry, and then I assume the bourgeoisie are probably eating all kinds of random exotic stuff at exorbitant prices while like a lot of people are going hungry. And then another revolution is going to try to happen, basically. So, like I really enjoyed the first 2. I really enjoyed Germinal when I read that in college. So, we're going to be trying to read through this series at some point. It's going to take a long time. So, we will see. One that I've been reading through here is, for my birthday, I got this Dungeons and Dragons Worlds and Realms book, which is just kind of a giant setting book full of art and whatnot. Can't even like open it with like one hand and stuff. Dealing with all the different, like the material realm, the Feywild, all the different kind of places of the multiverse in D&D and kind of lore and history. So if you don't like D&D, it's not going to make a whole lot of sense. I've been finding it really interesting because there's a couple settings that I've never really dealt with, or like I've never played in or DM'd and stuff, so it is kind of nice just seeing a couple different things. And then the narrator is the wizard Mordenkainen, and he's a little witty sometimes, so that's kind of makes it a little bit nice as well. So then I got a couple more books here. Let's see. I guess we'll just take this one off the top. We got Plato and the Tyrant, The Fall of Greece's Greatest Dynasty, and the Making of a Philosophic Masterpiece by James Romm. And this book is all about Plato. I assume his philosophical writings, probably most notably The Republic, but also importantly his historical escapades in Syracuse under the tyrant Dionysius, and how I think it's even I want to say it's twice, but I could be getting that wrong, but almost, I think on 2 different occasions, he's almost imprisoned and captured. Because Dionysus is kind of like, hey, I want to be like a philosopher king that you're always talking about. Enlighten me and help me out. And Plato's like, yeah, okay. And then he's like, yeah, I just like want to like rule how I want to and drink and party and make my own decisions and stuff, basically. So it kind of shows how like even like one of the greatest philosophers like ever literally has like no hold on like one secular ruler and stuff. So I thought that was it's kind of an interesting concept, and I did enjoy one of Romm's other book, which was Ghosts on the Throne, about the immediate aftermath of Alexander's death and kind of like Ptolemy and Antigonus and stuff fighting with each other. And then I got for my birthday as well a bunch of books on nature journaling, because I keep talking about how I want to do it and then I never do. And then someone's like, here, I just got you all this stuff, so now you have to do it, basically. So we're gonna try nature journaling. So I don't have a whole lot to say. I have been flipping through this one. I feel like this is in like my realm of possibility. I feel like I should show you the pictures and stuff. Claire Leslie Walker is like a pretty famous. Her and John Muir Laws are pretty much like the two pillars that like nature journalism kind of just like the legs that nature journaling just kind of like stands on. I feel like this is doable with her book. I'm not gonna lie, I also got the John Muir's book, and while that I think has more like technical information stuff, it almost looks more intimidating in a way for someone who literally can't do art and coloring and all that kind of stuff. I just like can't do, but I do like the idea of nature journaling. I'm always outside like looking at stuff, investigating stuff, and identifying stuff and everything. So I feel like it might be a way to like kind of de-stress and relax. Maybe. I don't know. Let me know down below if you've ever done nature journaling and that kind of thing. So we also have What the Wild Sea Can Be, The Future of the World's Oceans by Helen Scales. I have no idea why I have not got to this book as of yet. I've read, I think, 3 or 4 other books by Helen Scales, and they've all been fantastic. She's a marine scientist, so they just, like I said, they've just been really, really pleasant. Just like, look at the little artwork about like all the different things around like the seas and stuff. Not 100% sure what this one actually is even about. I just hadn't heard of it yet when I saw it in the bookstore. It's pretty rare that I buy a new book, like pretty much at like full price in a bookstore. But like I said, I somehow like didn't have this one on my radar when it came out, and yeah, like I said, Helen Scales is pretty much like an auto buy for me. Plus the artwork was super, super nice. But this is about, from my understanding, I think about like if the seas were to, the oceans were to recover, how would that take place? What would we need to do? But also, what would it actually look like? Because we kind of have that shifting baseline syndrome, especially with oceans, and like fisheries and stuff. On like generations ago, they always talk about like the old days, but like even like then, we can't even really imagine like the old days. But that time period is like bad compared to the old days that they were told of, like when they were kids and stuff. So, anyways, really, just like I said, just really enjoy Hell Scale, so I know it's going to be good. And then lastly, this one's going to be a fun one. Like I said, I'm trying to load up a little bit on like Greek and ancient history and stuff. I feel like I let that go a little bit too long. It's my bread and butter. Didn't do a whole lot of it this year. Inger Kuen's Diogenes. I want to say this is translated from something, but I could be completely wrong. Maybe she's just, I think maybe she's like just Dutch and writes in English or something. I can't remember off the top of my head. I could be dumb. But anyways, this is all about Diogenes the Cynic. A very interesting philosopher, most notable probably for like living in that ceramic jar and then like walking up to people with like a lantern in the daylight. Yeah, asking like what is like truth and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, cynics kind of get like, they kind of get memed and dunked on a little bit. However, there is a greater meaning to like some of the stuff he's going against. About like why do we follow like certain societal norms and stuff when they really don't like make like a whole lot of sense, and just kind of using like nature and reason to kind of work through problems and show kind of like a lot of the hypocrisy that's going on with just kind of the unevenness of societies and like a whole bunch of like different things. Plus, supposedly, even if it's not true, telling Alexander the Great to, get out of his sunlight is like so good. Like I said, I've never actually studied Diogenes or the Cynics really in any depth, so I think this will be a whole lot of fun. He also did a couple like whack things that I can't even like say on the YouTube channel, so I'll see how far down the rabbit hole this goes. So anyways, I find that really, really interesting. Try to get a lot of history, like the ancient kind of history that I really, really enjoy before the end of the year. Kind of keep that momentum going into the new year. So let me know if you're participating in this. If you are, how you're actually doing this. I have a feeling I'm like so late to the party with this video that a lot of people are going to be like already halfway done and whatnot. But anyways, like I said, let me know if you're participating, if it even makes sense. Which prediction do you think are the ones that I'm not going to get to this year? Which, should be actually pretty easy because I'm probably not going to get to too many of them. Anyways, I hope your reading for the end of the year goes well, and whatever you end up reading, read victoriously.